This is Juiced. So let's start. What the hell is Juiced? It's a street racing game from 2005 released by THQ for Xbox, PS2 and PC. So why am I talking about it? Normally when I make a video like this I'd be going over what the game's like, how good it is, that it crashes every time I use my right stick because my version just doesn't work right after setting it up. But no. What I'm here to talk about is a little bit of history behind the game. You see, the game was released by THQ, but originally it was being made by Acclaim Entertainment. But unfortunately in 2004 they had to sell off the rights to every single series they worked on because they went down under, and I'm not talking about going to Australia where the cute koala bears are going to try and kill you. So, that means there is some copies out there in the world of this game in early development that was Acclaim instead of THQ. So, the thing is, I had a look around and thanks to the Hidden Palace, they actually managed to get a few copies of Juiced from its development years, and one of them is a prototype for the PS2 of Juiced when Acclaim was making it back in July of 2004. So I've took it upon myself to try out both the original Acclaim copy along with a retail PC release and compare them. So we'll start with the intro and go from there. Both games have you race TK as an introduction, but the thing is, there's two very clear differences from the get-go. First of all, the cars are totally different, with the retail game having faster cars straight away. Also, there are placeholder voice lines in the original Acclaim release here. Possibly a developer putting in lines themselves because they hadn't finished it yet. So we have this mishmash of two different voices which you're going to see here.
So you want to race, huh? Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna loan you some wheels for one race only. If you bend my wheels, you'll have to pay. To make it interesting, let's have a little wager. Look at these two babies. This is gonna be one close race.
Another interesting change is the starter cars. All of them are pretty much different, but the one outlier I see is the Civic Type R, which is quite the high-end car to be starting off with in the original release, though in the final release this got changed to the CRX, the Beetle and the Peugeot 206. Another interesting thing to note is that in the retail release you had to keep on racing a car to unlock its body kits, though in the Acclaim version all the body kits were available as soon as you bought the car, meaning you can turn it into a Halford Special straight away, which is something that obviously was changed to give you a bit more progression. One thing on the flip side though that I'm really happy they changed was the physics. On the Acclaim version, whenever you hit the brakes, you end up practically spinning out every time just because the ABS was unreliable. So the actual retail version does have a one-up in that sense over the early version. One thing that did change for sure was the damage. While both games have a damage system, the original Acclaim version noted that the neons got damaged, which while the retail release does have that, it doesn't say that your neons have gone out. But the one big change is the Acclaim version actually had your turbo get damaged if you battered your car up enough. Now, there could be some good reason for getting rid of this, such as, for instance, losing a bet due to not having a working engine, and then before you know it, you've gone bankrupt. So, I can see why they removed it, but I do think it was an interesting idea in the early days. Another massive change in development was the actual race days. On the final retail product, each day has only one event. In the original, this was more like Need for Speed Pro Street, where there can be multiple events in a day and you can decide which ones to join. Some of them will be solo, maybe the second one might be a crew one, and so on, so it added variety in a per day experience in the game. This is one I really can't think of why they removed, because this added a lot more to the racing. You'd have days where you've got a drag race and following it up with a circuit, so it really made for interesting choices to pop up. The last two things to note is, first of all, there's a really cringy song made for the game. I don't know why they did this. But more importantly, a trailer for an unreleased game that was still work in progress called Emergency Mayhem. Now the thing is this game did release in 2008 under Codemasters and had totally changed. That's the things I could note from playing an early copy of the game. There's probably a lot more if I progress further, but it's one of those. I feel like we need to look at stuff like this once in a while, because when we get to learn about these games in development, we end up learning a lot more of what decisions happen and change throughout time. Because you never know, one change might lead to a load of others in the long run, and clearly THQ had a totally different vision for the game in the end, and especially when the sequel came around, they had totally changed up what Juiced was. So yeah, thank you for watching. Hopefully I can find some more interesting games like this one, because this has been a lot of fun to have a look into.